I, 25F, have been living with my parents while finishing my master's degree in social work. Our family has always been close-knit, despite the usual sibling rivalries and disagreements. I'm the middle child, sandwiched between my older brother Jake, 28M, and younger sister Mia, 21F. Growing up, we were always taught to look out for each other, a value our parents instilled in us from a young age. Our parents, David, 55M, and Linda, 53F, have always been supportive of our dreams and ambitions. They encouraged us to pursue higher education, even if it meant living at home longer to save money. That's why I don't pay rent, but I do contribute to utilities and groceries. It's an arrangement that's worked well for us over the years. Jake moved back home last year after losing his job in marketing. He had been living in the city, climbing the corporate ladder, when his company went through a major restructuring. Suddenly, he found himself unemployed and struggling to make ends meet in his expensive apartment. Our parents didn't hesitate to welcome him back, seeing it as an opportunity for Jake to regroup and find his footing. Mia, the baby of the family, is attending community college while living at home. She's always been the more sensitive and artistic one among us. While Jake and I gravitated towards more traditional career paths, Mia is pursuing her passion for photography. Our parents have been supportive, albeit a bit concerned about the financial stability of her chosen field. 2 months ago, our lives took an unexpected turn when our cousin Alex, 23M, came to stay with us. Alex is my mom's sister's son, and we grew up spending holidays and summers together. He was always the life of the party, quick with a joke and never seeming to take anything too seriously. But behind that carefree exterior, Alex had his share of struggles. Alex's parents divorced when he was in high school, and he took it hard. He started acting out, getting into trouble at school, and eventually dropped out of college after only a semester. For the past few years, he's been bouncing from job to job, never really finding his place. His most recent relationship, with a girl named Sarah, seemed to be a turning point. For the first time in years, Alex appeared to be settling down and getting serious about his future. So when Alex showed up on our doorstep 2 months ago, looking lost and defeated, it was a shock to all of us. He explained that Sarah had broken up with him, kicking him out of the apartment they shared. He had nowhere else to go and was too embarrassed to return to his mom's place. Our parents, always the nurturing type, didn't hesitate to offer him our guest room until he could get back on his feet. At first, everything seemed fine. Alex was grateful for the help and tried to make himself useful around the house. He'd do the dishes without being asked, mow the lawn, and even helped Jake with some job applications. We all thought this might be the wake-up call Alex needed to turn his life around. But about a month into Alex's stay, I started noticing a change in the household dynamics. It was subtle at first, a snide comment here, a backhanded compliment there. Most of these remarks seemed to be directed at Mia. I brushed it off initially, thinking it was just Alex's usual teasing manner. After all, he'd always been a bit of a jokester, even when we were kids. However, as the days went by, I couldn't ignore the pattern anymore. Alex seemed to go out of his way to make Mia uncomfortable. He'd comment on her clothes, saying things like, "Isn't that skirt a little short for a family dinner?" Or, "I bet you're trying to impress that barista at the coffee shop." When Mia would talk about her photography projects, Alex would roll his eyes and mutter something about starving artists. I tried to talk to Alex privately about it. One afternoon, when everyone else was out, I approached him in the kitchen. "Hey, Alex," I said, trying to keep my tone casual, "I've noticed you've been pretty hard on Mia lately. Is everything okay?" Alex just shrugged, grabbing a beer from the fridge. "I'm just messing around," he said. "Mia needs to toughen up if she's going to make it in the real world. Besides, it's not my fault if she can't take a joke." His dismissive attitude bothered me, but I didn't want to push too hard and create tension in the house. I decided to keep a closer eye on the situation instead. I started spending more time in the common areas when Alex and Mia were both home, hoping my presence would deter any inappropriate behavior. Meanwhile, Mia had been withdrawing more and more. She used to love hanging out in the living room, sketching or editing photos on her laptop. Now, she spent most of her time holed up in her room. When I asked her about it, she hesitated before admitting that Alex's comments were really getting to her. "I just feel like I can't do anything right when he's around," she confessed, her eyes welling up with tears. "But I don't want to say anything to Mom and Dad. They're already doing so much by letting Alex stay here." I assured Mia that her feelings were valid and that she had every right to feel comfortable in her own home. I promised to talk to our parents about the situation, but Mia begged me not to. She was worried about causing drama and potentially making things worse for Alex, who was already going through a tough time. Last week, things finally came to a head during a family dinner. Mom had made her famous lasagna, and we were all gathered around the table. The conversation was light at first, with Jake talking about a promising job lead and Dad discussing plans for a weekend fishing trip. Then Mia, in a rare moment of openness, mentioned that she had a date coming up with a guy from her photography class. The moment the words left her mouth, I saw Alex's demeanor change. He leaned forward, a glint in his eye that made me uneasy. Well, he said, his tone dripping with sarcasm, looks like our little Mia is finally putting herself out there. What's the matter, couldn't find a date in your own age group? Mia's face flushed red, and she stared down at her plate. But Alex wasn't done. He started interrogating Mia about the guy, asking increasingly personal and inappropriate questions. So, is this guy aware of your, shall we say, limited experience? Or are you planning to fake it till you make it? He sneered. I could see Mia shrinking in her chair, clearly mortified. I tried to change the subject, asking Dad about the details of his fishing trip. But Alex wouldn't let up. He turned to me, his eyes narrowed. What's the matter, sis? Afraid little Mia can't handle a little teasing? Or are you just jealous that she's got a date and you don't? That's when I lost it. The weeks of pent-up frustration came pouring out. Enough, Alex, I snapped. You're a guest in this house, and you need to show some respect. Just because your life is a mess doesn't give you the right to take it out on Mia or anyone else. The table fell silent, everyone staring at me in shock. Alex's face contorted with anger. Oh, that's rich coming from you, he spat. Living at home at your age, mooching off your parents. At least I'm trying to get my life together. What's your excuse? He stood up abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. You know what? I don't need this. I'm out of here. With that, he stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind him. The silence that followed was deafening. Mia was on the verge of tears, Jake looked uncomfortable, and our parents seemed stunned. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. I think we all need to calm down, he said slowly. Alex is family, and he's going through a tough time. We need to be more understanding. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Understanding? I repeated incredulously. Dad, did you not hear how he was talking to Mia? To all of us? That's not okay, tough time or not. Mom tried to intervene, suggesting we all take a breather and discuss things when everyone had cooled off. But the damage had been done. Alex didn't come back for 2 days. When he finally returned, my parents called a family meeting. They announced that Alex would be staying with us for at least another month and that we all needed to make an effort to get along. I tried to explain Alex's behavior towards Mia, but my parents seemed to brush it off as simple cousin rivalry. They told us to work it out amongst ourselves. Now, the atmosphere in the house is unbearably tense. Alex barely speaks to me, shooting me dirty looks whenever we're in the same room. Mia seems more withdrawn than ever, spending almost all her time in her room with the door locked. Jake has been staying out of it entirely, saying it's not his problem and he doesn't want to get involved. I feel like I'm the only one standing up for Mia, but I'm not sure if I crossed a line with what I said to Alex. Should I apologize to keep the peace, or stand my ground? I don't want to make things worse for Mia, but I also don't think it's right to let Alex treat her this way in our own home. The whole situation has me questioning everything, our family dynamics, my parents' judgment, and even my own actions. I'm at a loss for what to do next. Update 1, it's been about 2 weeks since my last post, and I wish I could say things have improved, but unfortunately, the situation has only escalated. After much internal debate, I decided to try and smooth things over with Alex. I approached him one morning when we were both in the kitchen, and I apologized for my harsh words at dinner. I explained that while I stood by my concern for Mia, I could have expressed it more tactfully. Alex seemed to accept my apology, even cracking a smile and saying, "Water under the bridge, cuz." For a moment, I felt a glimmer of hope that maybe we could move past this and find a way to coexist peacefully. However, that hope was short-lived. Despite our apparent reconciliation, Alex's behavior towards Mia hasn't improved at all. If anything, it seems to have gotten worse, as if he's trying to make up for lost time. He's become more subtle in his jabs, making comments that seem innocent on the surface but carry a clear undercurrent of mockery. Last weekend, Mia went on her date with a guy from her photography class. She had been nervous all week, changing her outfit multiple times and fretting about every detail. I tried to be supportive, helping her choose what to wear and giving her a pep talk before she left. As she walked out the door, I couldn't help but feel a surge of protective sisterly pride. When Mia came home later that night, Alex was sprawled on the couch in the living room, watching a basketball game. As soon as Mia walked in, he muted the TV and sat up, a predatory grin spreading across his face. Well, look who's doing the walk of shame, he said, his voice dripping with insinuation. Mia tried to brush him off, mumbling a quick goodnight as she made for the stairs. But Alex wasn't about to let her escape that easily. He started grilling her about how the date went, his questions becoming increasingly crude and invasive. "Come on, Mia, don't be shy," he pressed. "Did he at least get to second base? Or did you strike out again?" I had been in the kitchen, cleaning up some dishes, but I could hear every word. I rushed into the living room, ready to intervene. Mia's face was bright red, a mix of embarrassment and anger. "Alex, that's enough," I said firmly. "Mia doesn't have to tell you anything about her date." Alex held up his hands in mock surrender. "Whoa, easy there, big sis. I'm just looking out for my little cousin. Someone's got to make sure she's not getting taken advantage of, right?" He turned back to Mia, his voice taking on a patronizing tone. "You know how guys can be at that age, always looking for one thing. But I guess beggars can't be choosers, huh?" That's when Mia finally snapped. Months of pent-up frustration came pouring out as she shouted, "Shut up, Alex. Just shut up. I'm so sick of your comments and your jokes. They're not funny, they're not helpful, and they make me feel gross. This is my home, and I'm tired of feeling like I have to walk on eggshells around you." The room fell silent for a moment, both Alex and I stunned by Mia's outburst. Then Alex started laughing, a harsh, mocking sound that made my skin crawl. "Wow, looks like little Mia finally grew a backbone," he sneered. "Maybe now you'll be able to keep a guy interested for more than one date." I was furious. I stepped between Alex and Mia, my voice low and dangerous. "That's it, Alex. You need to apologize right now, or I swear to God, you'll what?" Alex cut me off, standing up to his full height. "Run to mommy and daddy again? Face it, they don't care. They're too busy feeling sorry for poor, pathetic Alex to see what's really going on." With that, he stormed off to the guest room, slamming the door so hard that the pictures on the wall rattled. Mia burst into tears, and I spent the next hour comforting her in her room. Between sobs, she confessed that Alex's behavior had been getting progressively worse over the past few weeks. She admitted that she was afraid to be alone in the house with him, always making sure to lock her door at night. The next day, I decided it was time to have a serious talk with our parents. I waited until Alex had left for a job interview, or so he claimed, before sitting them down in the living room. I explained everything that had been happening, from Alex's constant belittling comments to the incident after Mia's date. I emphasized how uncomfortable and unsafe Mia was feeling in her own home. To my shock and disappointment, my parents' reaction was far from what I had hoped. My mom wrung her hands nervously, her brow furrowed with concern, but not for Mia. "Honey," she said gently, "I think you might be blowing this out of proportion. Alex is going through such a difficult time right now. We need to be understanding and supportive." My dad nodded in agreement. "Your mother's right. Alex lost his job, his girlfriend, and his home all at once. It's no wonder he's acting out a bit. Mia's young, she needs to toughen up a little. The world isn't always going to coddle her." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Are you serious right now?" I asked, my voice rising with disbelief. "Alex is an adult. His hard time doesn't give him the right to harass Mia or anyone else. She doesn't feel safe in her own home." My parents exchanged a look that made my stomach drop. "Look," my dad said, his tone growing stern, "we appreciate that you're trying to look out for your sister. But you need to stay out of this. Alex is family, and we're not going to kick him out when he has nowhere else to go. So what, we just let him keep treating Mia like this?" I demanded. My mom sighed heavily. "We'll talk to Alex, okay? But you need to stop stirring up trouble. If you can't live with the situation, well..." She trailed off, but the implication was clear. "Are you threatening to kick me out?" I asked, incredulous. My dad's face hardened. "No one's kicking anyone out. But if you keep causing problems, we might have to reconsider our financial support. Your tuition isn't cheap, you know." I felt like I'd been slapped. I couldn't believe my parents were prioritizing Alex's comfort over Mia's safety and using my education as leverage to keep me quiet. I stormed out of the room, my mind reeling. Now, I'm at a complete loss. Mia is miserable, Alex is unapologetic, and my parents seem determined to sweep everything under the rug. Jake is still refusing to get involved, saying it's not his problem to solve. I feel like I'm the only one trying to protect Mia, but I'm terrified of the consequences if I push too hard. I'm starting to wonder if I should be looking for a way to move out, but I don't know how I'd afford it while finishing my degree. The thought of leaving Mia alone in this situation makes me sick to my stomach, but I'm running out of options. Has anyone dealt with a similar situation? How do I support Mia without completely alienating my family or jeopardizing my education? I feel like I'm trapped in an impossible situation, and I don't know where to turn next. Update 2. The past week has been a whirlwind of emotions and events that I'm still trying to process. After my last update, I felt backed into a corner. My parents' refusal to acknowledge the seriousness of the situation with Alex left me feeling helpless and frustrated. I knew I needed to do something more concrete to protect Mia, but I was worried about overstepping or making things worse. After much internal debate, I made a decision that I'm still not entirely comfortable with. I set up a hidden camera in the living room. I know it's ethically questionable and potentially illegal, but I felt like I had no other choice. I needed evidence to show my parents, something they couldn't dismiss or explain away. I borrowed a small camera from a friend in my program, telling her it was for a project. I carefully positioned it on a bookshelf, angled to capture most of the living room and part of the kitchen. For 3 days, I anxiously waited, checking the footage each night when everyone was asleep. At first, there was nothing particularly damning, just the usual family comings and goings. But on the 4th day, I caught something that made my blood run cold. The camera captured Alex cornering Mia in the kitchen while she was getting a glass of water. He blocked her path, leaning in close as he spoke. The audio was muffled, but I could clearly hear the fear in Mia's voice as she asked him to move. Instead of backing off, Alex reached out and tried to touch Mia's face. She jerked away, knocking over her glass in the process. As water spilled across the counter, Mia ducked under Alex's arm and ran upstairs. The sound of her door slamming echoed through the house. I was shaking with anger as I watched the footage. This was no longer just about snide comments or inappropriate jokes, this was physical intimidation. I immediately went to confront Alex, but he wasn't in the house. I found Mia in her room, curled up on her bed with her headphones on. When I showed her the video, she broke down in tears, admitting that Alex had been getting increasingly physical with his jokes over the past few weeks. We decided to show the video to our parents as soon as they got home from work. Their reaction was not what I expected. My mom burst into tears, while my dad turned red with anger. But instead of directing that anger at Alex, he turned on me. "How dare you set up a camera in our house?" he shouted. "You violated everyone's privacy. What were you thinking?" I was stunned. I tried to redirect the conversation to Alex's behavior, but my parents were fixated on what I had done. They said I had broken their trust and that they couldn't believe I would stoop so low. When I pointed out that the camera had caught Alex assaulting Mia, my dad's response left me speechless. "It was probably just a misunderstanding," he said. "Alex was probably just teasing. Mia, you didn't lead him on somehow, did you?" Mia, who had been quiet throughout the confrontation, suddenly stood up. "I can't believe you're defending him," she said, her voice shaking. "I don't feel safe here anymore. I want to leave." That was the moment I knew we couldn't stay any longer. I told my parents that they were failing to protect their daughter and that I couldn't stand by and watch it happen. I helped Mia pack a bag, threw some of my own things together, and we left that night. A friend from my graduate program agreed to let us crash at her place for a few days while we figured out our next move. Alex is still living at my parents' house. Jake finally got involved and is trying to mediate between us and our parents, but so far, they're more concerned about me overreacting and dividing the family than addressing Alex's behavior. They've threatened to cut me off financially if I don't come home and apologize for the camera incident. I'm looking into options for Mia and me to get our own place, but it's going to be tight financially. I'm also considering going to the police with the video footage, but I'm worried about how that might affect Mia. She's already feeling guilty about tearing the family apart. I feel like I'm in over my head. How do I protect Mia and myself while dealing with the fallout from my family? Has anyone navigated a similar situation with unsupportive parents? Update 3. It's been a month since my last update, and so much has changed. After much discussion with Mia and seeking advice from a domestic violence hotline, we decided to file a police report about Alex's behavior. It was a difficult decision, but we felt it was necessary for our safety and to prevent Alex from potentially harming others in the future. The process was intimidating, but the officers who took our statement were understanding and professional. They reviewed the video footage I had captured and took detailed accounts from both Mia and me about Alex's pattern of behavior. They explained that while some of Alex's actions might be classified as harassment rather than assault, the video evidence of him cornering Mia was particularly concerning. As part of the investigation, the police also interviewed our parents and Jake. This finally seemed to wake our parents up to the seriousness of the situation. Mom called me in tears, apologizing for not believing us sooner and begging us to come home. Dad was more reserved, but Jake told me he seemed shaken by the police involvement. We also reached out to our aunt, Alex's mom, to let her know what was going on. Her reaction surprised me. Instead of defending Alex, she broke down and revealed that this wasn't the first time he had exhibited inappropriate behavior towards women. Apparently, there had been incidents in high school and college that the family had swept under the rug, hoping Alex would grow out of it. Our aunt was devastated and ashamed that she hadn't done more to address the issue earlier. As a result of the police report and investigation, Alex is now facing charges of harassment and attempted sexual assault. He's been ordered to stay away from Mia and me, and he's no longer living at our parents' house. Last I heard, he's staying with a friend and has been mandated to attend counseling. The family dynamics are still strained, but we're slowly working on rebuilding trust. Mom has been calling daily to check on us and has offered to pay for therapy for Mia. Dad is still struggling to come to terms with everything, but he's making an effort. He helped us move our remaining things out of the house and has been respecting our need for space. Jake has surprisingly stepped up in a big way. He's been acting as a mediator between us and our parents, helping them understand our perspective. He's also been supportive of our decision to involve the police, saying he wishes he had taken our concerns more seriously from the beginning. Mia and I have found a small apartment that we can afford together. It's not much, but it's ours, and more importantly, it's safe. I've picked up a part-time job at a local community center to help cover expenses, and Mia has started doing freelance photography work. It's not easy juggling work, school, and our new living situation, but we're managing. As for my education, I explained the situation to my graduate advisor. They were incredibly understanding and have worked with me to create a more flexible schedule. I might have to extend my program by a semester, but I'm determined to finish my degree. We're taking things day by day, focusing on healing and moving forward. There are still moments when the weight of everything that's happened hits me, but I know we made the right decision in standing up for ourselves. If there's one thing I've learned from this experience, it's the importance of trusting your instincts and not being afraid to seek help when you need it. Thank you to everyone who offered advice and support throughout this ordeal. Your words of encouragement meant more than you know. If anyone else is in a similar situation, please don't be afraid to reach out for help. You're not alone, and you deserve to feel safe in your own home.